What if I told you there's a single man who owns more land than Delaware and Rhode Island combined, and turned what Wall Street called the worst investment decision of the decade into a billion-dollar empire? The Cable Cowboy's land grab isn't just the largest in America, it's the greatest investment comeback story in history. And what he built will absolutely blow your mind. In 1997, John Malone stood in a Denver boardroom staring at a map covered in red pins. Each pin represented a piece of land he was about to purchase. Not acres, not hundreds of acres, but entire counties worth of American soil. His advisors thought he'd lost his mind. "You're a cable TV guy," they said. "What do you know about ranching?" Wall Street analysts were stunned when the Cable Cowboy announced he was abandoning technology investments for timber and cattle. The financial press mocked the telecommunications mogul who was throwing away his fortune on worthless ranch land in the middle of nowhere. But Malone saw something nobody else could see. While everyone was chasing the next tech bubble, he was quietly assembling what would become the largest private land empire in American history. An empire that would eventually generate more consistent returns than his cable TV business ever did. What happened next would prove that sometimes the most profitable investments are the ones everyone else thinks are crazy. The impossible land grab that stunned Wall Street. The Cable Cowboy's plan was audacious beyond belief. He wanted to buy up struggling ranches, timberlands, and rural properties across America, creating a land empire that would span from the forests of Maine to the ranches of Colorado. The numbers seemed impossible. Malone was competing against government agencies, conservation groups, and other billionaires for properties that rarely came on the market. He was paying premium prices for land that most investors considered worthless: remote timber forests, struggling cattle ranches, and properties so vast they didn't even have roads to most of the acreage. Over the next 2 decades, he would likely spend close to $1 billion assembling his empire, creating a portfolio that now covers 2.2 million acres across multiple states. Today, John Malone is the largest private landowner in America, controlling more land than some small countries. You could drive for 8 hours straight and never leave his property. The day that changed everything. Malone's land manager still remembers the day they closed on the Bell Ranch in New Mexico, nearly 300,000 acres of historic rangeland. The previous owners had been struggling for years, unable to make the massive property profitable in an era of low cattle prices and high operating costs. When the Cable Cowboy first walked the property, he wasn't looking at struggling grasslands and aging infrastructure. He was seeing something else entirely: vast timber reserves worth millions, mineral rights that previous owners had ignored, water resources that were becoming more valuable every year, and recreational opportunities that could generate revenue streams the previous owners had never imagined. Within months of the purchase, Malone's team had transformed the operation. Professional wildlife management brought back elk herds that hadn't been seen in decades. The property that had been losing money for years was suddenly generating multiple revenue streams from timber, hunting, grazing leases, and recreational activities. It was the moment everyone realized that the Cable Cowboy wasn't just buying land, he was buying the future of rural America, the timber empire that grows money on trees. What most people don't understand about the Cable Cowboy's empire is that much of his wealth comes not from cattle or crops, but from trees. His timber holdings across Maine, New Hampshire, and Colorado represent one of the largest private forest operations in America. Over 1.2 million acres of working forest. These aren't just pretty woods sitting idle. They're carefully managed timber plantations that generate tens of millions of dollars annually through sustainable harvesting. The scale is staggering. His main forests alone cover more area than the entire state of Rhode Island. These forests are so vast they stretch beyond the horizon and span multiple microclimates, and you could get lost for days walking through timber stands that seem to go on forever. The transformation has been remarkable. Forests that were overgrown and unhealthy when Malone purchased them now support diverse ecosystems while producing premium lumber for construction and paper manufacturing. It's like compound interest, but with trees that grow bigger and more valuable every year, and trees don't crash like tech stocks. The cattle operation that spans time zones. At the heart of the Cable Cowboy's empire are working cattle ranches that run thousands of head of premium beef cattle across some of the most challenging terrain in America. The Bell Ranch alone runs over 3,000 head of cattle across 300,000 acres. That's larger than most eastern cities. But this isn't your typical cattle operation. It's a sophisticated business that uses modern technology and scientific management to maximize both profitability and land stewardship. GPS tracking systems monitor cattle movements across vast pastures, ensuring optimal grazing patterns that improve grassland health. The scale is almost impossible to comprehend. You could ride horseback for days across Malone's cattle operations and never see the same pasture twice. His cowboys manage herds across a landscape so vast that they use helicopters and GPS tracking to monitor cattle movements across terrain that would take weeks to cover on foot. The results speak for themselves. Malone's ranches consistently produce some of the highest quality beef in America while actually improving the health of the grasslands they graze. The water rights worth more than gold. What many people don't realize is that the Cable Cowboy's land empire includes something even more valuable than the soil itself: water rights. Across the American West, where water is becoming increasingly scarce and valuable, Malone controls water resources that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. His Colorado properties alone include rights to thousands of acre-feet of water annually, enough to supply major cities. In a region where water rights can sell for $10,000 per acre-foot or more, Malone's water holdings represent a fortune that most people never see. It's like owning liquid gold buried beneath the ground, and every year it becomes more valuable as the West gets drier and more developed. The water management systems on Malone's properties are so sophisticated that they actually improve watershed health while supporting agricultural production. Stock ponds and irrigation systems provide water for both livestock and wildlife, creating oases in landscapes that would otherwise struggle to support large animal populations. The Cable Cowboy isn't just hoarding water, he's using it strategically to maximize the productivity of his lands while ensuring that downstream users continue to benefit from clean, reliable water supplies. The hunting empire that brings in Fortune 500 CEOs. The Cable Cowboy has transformed many of his properties into some of the most exclusive hunting destinations in America, attracting wealthy clients who pay premium prices for the opportunity to hunt trophy animals on pristine private land that most people will never see. The Bell Ranch offers elk hunting experiences that cost $15,000 per hunter, more than most people make in months, with waiting lists that stretch for years. But this isn't just about recreation for rich folks. The hunting programs generate millions of dollars annually that directly support habitat improvement, wildlife management, and land stewardship efforts. What makes these hunting programs so successful is the quality of the experience. Hunters aren't just paying for the opportunity to harvest an animal, they're paying for access to some of the most pristine wilderness areas in America, guided by professionals who know every ridge and valley on properties larger than most national parks. The hunting operations also provide good-paying jobs for local guides, outfitters, and service providers in rural communities where opportunities are often scarce. It's economic development that preserves rural traditions while generating serious revenue, the kind of money that keeps small towns alive. the real estate development that's redefining rural luxury. While much of the Cable Cowboy's land remains in agricultural and forestry use, he's also pioneered a new model of rural development that preserves open space while creating tremendous value for wealthy buyers seeking escape from urban chaos. His Bridger Canyon development near Bozeman, Montana, represents a new approach to rural real estate. Large lot sizes that preserve the rural character while providing luxury amenities for buyers who can afford to pay millions for privacy and natural beauty. The development has generated hundreds of millions in revenue while maintaining the agricultural and recreational character of the landscape. Properties sell for $2 to $5 million or more, attracting tech executives, Wall Street titans, and other wealthy Americans who want their own piece of the American West. By clustering homes on smaller portions of large properties and preserving the majority of land as open space, he's created a model that benefits both buyers and existing rural communities. Buyers in these developments aren't just purchasing homes, they're buying into a lifestyle that includes access to thousands of acres of preserved open space, world-class recreational opportunities, and the privacy that comes with large-lot rural living that money can't buy in the suburbs. The technology revolution, hidden in plain sight. While the Cable Cowboy's empire might seem old-fashioned, it actually employs some of the most advanced technology in agriculture and land management. Satellite imagery monitors timber growth and harvesting operations across hundreds of thousands of acres. GPS-guided equipment ensures precise management of both forests and rangelands. Drone technology surveys wildlife populations and assesses range conditions across vast landscapes that would take ground crews weeks to cover on foot. Weather monitoring stations provide real-time data that helps managers make critical decisions about everything from timber harvesting to livestock movements. The technology allows Malone's relatively small management teams to oversee operations that would have required hundreds of workers in the past. It's efficiency on a scale that makes his empire profitable even when commodity prices are challenging, the kind of operational excellence that built his cable TV fortune. But the technology isn't just about efficiency, it's about sustainability. By monitoring environmental conditions in real time, the Cable Cowboy's managers can make decisions that optimize both economic and environmental outcomes across landscapes larger than most states. The conservation success that surprised everyone. When the Cable Cowboy first started buying large tracts of land, environmental groups were skeptical. They worried that a businessman would prioritize profits over conservation, potentially damaging sensitive ecosystems for short-term gain. Instead, the opposite happened. Malone's properties have become some of the most successful private conservation areas in America, supporting thriving wildlife populations while generating sustainable revenue through careful management. His main forest holdings now support healthy populations of moose, black bears, and other wildlife that had been declining on surrounding lands. The western ranches support elk herds that are larger and healthier than when Malone purchased the properties. Environmental groups that were initially skeptical have become supporters, recognizing that the Cable Cowboy's model of private conservation is achieving results that complement and enhance government conservation efforts. It's proof that private landowners can be powerful allies in the fight to preserve America's natural heritage. The success of his conservation programs has changed how many people think about the relationship between private ownership and environmental protection. The economic engine of rural America. The Cable Cowboy's land empire isn't just a collection of properties. It's an economic engine that supports thousands of jobs and generates hundreds of millions of dollars in economic activity across rural America, keeping small towns alive that might otherwise dry up and blow away. His operations employ everyone from ranch hands and foresters to wildlife biologists and real estate professionals. These jobs often pay above average wages and provide benefits in areas where good employment opportunities are traditionally scarce. The kind of work that lets a man support his family with dignity. Local suppliers benefit from millions of dollars in annual purchases of everything from feed and fuel to equipment and professional services. Property tax payments from Malone's holdings provide significant revenue for local governments, helping fund schools, roads, and other public services in rural counties that often struggle with limited tax bases and declining populations. In some rural counties, the Cable Cowboy's operations represent the largest single source of employment and tax revenue, making the difference between communities that thrive and those that fade away. It's economic development that works with the land rather than against it. The timber revolution that's changing American forestry. The Cable Cowboy's approach to forest management has revolutionized how private timberlands are managed in America. Instead of the traditional cut-and-run approach that dominated the industry for decades, his operations use sustainable practices that actually improve forest health while generating consistent revenue. Selective harvesting techniques remove only mature trees while preserving the forest canopy and supporting younger growth. This approach maintains wildlife habitat and watershed protection while producing high-quality timber that commands premium prices in construction and manufacturing markets. The forests are managed on long-term rotations that optimize both timber production and environmental benefits. Some areas are harvested on 40-year cycles, others on 60-year cycles, depending on species composition and site conditions. The kind of long-term thinking that built America's great fortunes. The Cable Cowboy's forestry operations have become models for sustainable timber management, demonstrating that private landowners can generate significant profits while improving forest health and environmental quality. The water management revolution. Across his western properties, the Cable Cowboy has invested heavily in water infrastructure that not only supports his agricultural operations, but actually improves watershed health across entire regions, something that benefits everyone downstream. Stock ponds and water developments provide reliable water sources for both livestock and wildlife, even during drought years that devastate other operations. Stream restoration projects have improved fish habitat and water quality on the properties where previous management had caused erosion and degradation. This approach maximizes water retention and availability while minimizing environmental impact, the kind of smart resource management that ensures long-term profitability. Many of the Cable Cowboy's properties include critical headwater areas that supply water to major river systems. By protecting these watersheds and improving their health, the ranches provide clean water for communities hundreds of miles downstream, the legacy that will outlast generations. What the Cable Cowboy has built represents more than just a successful investment strategy. It's a model for how private landowners can be stewards of America's natural resources while generating sustainable economic returns that benefit entire communities. His properties will continue to produce timber, support wildlife, and provide recreational opportunities for generations to come. The conservation practices he's implemented will continue to benefit watersheds, wildlife populations, and rural communities long after he's gone. The management techniques developed on Malone's properties are being adopted by other large landowners, multiplying the conservation and economic benefits far beyond his own holdings. It's a legacy that proves American ingenuity and business sense can preserve the land while making it profitable. The Cable Cowboy has proven that private conservation can achieve results that complement and enhance government conservation efforts, providing a model for how wealthy Americans can use their resources to benefit both the environment and rural communities that are the backbone of this country. John Malone's billion-dollar land empire proves that sometimes the smartest investment is the one everyone else thinks is crazy. From timber forests to cattle ranches, the Cable Cowboy shows us that land ownership can be both profitable and sustainable when managed with vision and respect for the American way of life. If you want to see more incredible stories about America's largest landowners, make sure to subscribe, because what I'm about to show you next will make this empire look small by comparison.